Greg Green is a visionary entrepreneur with decades of experience shaping the telecom industry in the Inland Northwest and beyond. A longtime supporter of Launchpad and an advocate for innovation in our region, Greg brings a wealth of insight into what it takes to recognize opportunity, build with intention, and adapt through shifting markets. In this episode of the Launchpad Innovators Podcast, Greg shares the story of how he went from minor league football to building and scaling companies like Tel-West, Nextlink, 180 Communications, and Fatbeam. From taking a company public to bringing high-speed fiber networks to underserved school districts, Greg's story is packed with lessons for founders at every stage. We talk about strategic partnerships, anticipating market needs, knowing when to pivot, and why innovation, especially around AI, is more critical than ever. This is the Launchpad Innovators Podcast. I'm Bill Kalivas, and this is my conversation with my good friend, Greg Green. Hey everybody, this is Bill Kalivas with the Launchpad Podcast, and I am super excited to have my dear friend, Greg Green, join us today. Greg, how you doing, my friend?
Good, buddy.
Where does the podcast find you today?
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Just got back. We live in Vegas in the winter months, and so we love the summer up here. So we're back in Coeur d'Alene. It's exciting.
Now that background looks oddly familiar. I mean, is that your living room?
No, it's one of the Riverside, I guess, is the software we're using today.
Yeah.
So I just picked, I love old brick buildings, so I just picked something that would work. So sorry.
Well,
staged, yeah.
Well, as you and I talked,
yes, sir.
This is really an opportunity for our listeners, our subscribers, people involved in Launchpad, most of whom are innovators, entrepreneurs, founders like yourself. The goal is really to get to know people who have gone through some of those journeys, as we like to call them, and have a lot of the road rash and experience and the ups, the downs, all that good stuff. But you're one of those people that you're resilient, man. You are just super resilient. You've had a wonderful career in telecom, but you've also had those valleys that you've been through. So that's one of the reasons I was super excited to talk to you and catch up to you. But for those who don't know, can you just tell us maybe where you're from?
Yeah.
Where you grew up?
Yeah. So as a kid, we moved around a lot. I think I was in 3 different fourth grades. So we lived in Seattle, the Tri-Cities. Ultimately, my dad was in construction, and we ended up living in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So graduated from Coeur d'Alene High School. Just what a great place to grow up, and be a kid. Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
81. So I was pretty young. So I think you and I were talking earlier. I'm sort of like, I graduated, I was born in 63. I'm sort of on that Gen X. It starts in 64, but I was born in the fall of 63. So I kind of classify myself more as a Gen Xer, but, I don't know. I'm in there somewhere, we all are. But.
Yeah. So cool. So what would you do? Like in school, were you into any kind of a tech or kind of any kind of that stuff? Because there wasn't a lot. I graduated the same year and born the same year, but there wasn't a lot of tech back then. What were you?
That's true, man. I was, I was just into sports. I loved, my big love was basketball. I loved basketball, but being just 5'11" or something, wasn't gonna make it. But I did love basketball. There was something called DECA. I don't know if they have it anymore, but do you remember that? That was pretty cool. That's about
kind of the business.
Yeah.
Organization.
They ran a little store in the, where you could buy some ice cream or candy or gum or whatever. Why would they sell gum? I don't think about that. But anyway, to kids. So anyway, but they managed, here's your cost and here's how, here's your retail and here's the cost. And so they all got involved. And I guess that was as close as you could get to kind of getting ahead of hands on a P&L and learning the business. But DECA was a big deal back then. I wasn't involved, but I had some friends that were.
I think you may have done something similar that I did and maybe shaped our future business development acumen. But I always sought out the people that were in DECA that were going to run those stores and be like, hey, man, let's be friends. Let's develop a relationship. And because they had access to all the candy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had some girlfriends that worked there. Yeah, yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
now we're really starting to understand.
Yeah.
So after you graduated, what'd you do with yourself?
So, man, I had no idea. Like, I just didn't have a clue. And I just knew I needed, Coeur d'Alene back then was still, it was tourism, but not like what we know now. So I meandered my way over to Spokane. I ended up taking some classes at Whitworth. I played a little bit of football over there. And, I was just, I wanted to do, I just didn't know what it was. So, I played a little football for the Spokane Fury, the minor league years ago, and took some classes, ended up at an early age. And then I went to work at Nordstrom's, and that taught me a lot about, just the interpersonal communications, believe it or not, I had a child on the way, my son, Kellen. I got up at 4 a.m. and worked as a janitor from 4 a.m. till noon when they opened. And it was interesting. And someone, I don't know if he was listening to me talk to somebody or something, and he's like, I want you to come and work for me in women's shoes. Swear to God, women's shoes. So I just learned pretty quickly, about everything's about relationships and communication. And so I did really well selling women's shoes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. So
women's shoes, that's important, man. You gotta
be good.
Clientele, you gotta be really on top of your game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. You definitely do. And you got to remember, the things, the next time they come back, you remember them and their face, and that makes them feel good and warm. And it's all sort of that sales process that honestly college really wouldn't have taught me, so.
Right. So you were at Nordstrom kind of getting your first taste of customer service, building relationships, making people happy, providing a service. What'd you do after Nordstrom?
So while I was working in Nordstrom, I was still playing minor league football and Gary Barton. Kohler Tower United was the kind of HVAC company in Spokane. He owned the football team, and he said they were building the telecom division. And so when I say telecom division, I'm speaking about like a PBX, like the phone system that would go in a bank. You would wire a bank or a hospital so they'd have their own PBX or phone system. So he goes like, I'd love for you to work for me. So I went to work for him, and lo and behold, just kind of long story short, I was there a couple of years, and the company, I don't know, they had some falling out. I don't really know what happened at a high level, but anyway, after the company kind of went apart, like maybe bankruptcy. I'm not sure how it all happened. I don't want to pin that on any, that I really don't know that, so I don't want to give bad juju to anyone. But I started getting, I don't know, I just thought to myself, I've always been entrepreneurial. Why don't I call some of these businesses and see if I can service their telephone systems? I started calling. There was this huge outcry of like, oh yeah, please. We didn't know who to call. So I literally started my own business of, installing back, what is it, Cat 2 back then, Bill, or something like that, twisted pair, if you will. And so we were doing that for networks and got bigger and bigger. And that was the start of Tel-West. And Tel-West, I don't know, I think you might even see the name Tel-West on the side of Broadway somewhere. I had sold the business later, but I owned that company for 20 years. And, we built that company up. We were in Seattle, Spokane, Tri-Cities, selling PBXs for years. We created a division of Tel-West, and we're now into 93, 94. We created a division of Tel-West because I started to see the vision of the phone monopolies starting to get broken up. Okay, so basically they called them baby bells, but there were, I should know this, 7 Baby Bells, something like that, 5 or 7 Baby Bells. And they were all broken up. So basically, there were these regional Bell operating phone companies that provided telephone service, dial tone, things like that. We started preparing that in 92, 93, and we were building fiber through the skywalks of downtown Spokane. And yeah, it was really interesting story. Fascinating to think about what we did. We had to go and get a city franchise to do that. I didn't know what a city franchise was, right? So anyway, we built that, we built it up. And then, lo and behold, in 95, we became part of Nextlink. And Nextlink was Craig McCaw, the billionaire who he founded Cellular One. So like if some people are as old as us, Cellular One was the first nationwide cellular network out there. And today, Cellular One, the old Cellular One, Craig sold it to AT&T for about $7 or $8 billion. So Craig then saw the vision of Telecom, like, hey man, this is a $200 billion industry, dial tone, phone service, and it's a monopoly. Like there's one company can own it in the entire region. So let's get into some of that. It's a monopoly. Let's get 1 or 2% of that. And they acquired us. I became the president of Nextlink and Nextlink Washington. And anyway, it was just a great way for me to take little Tel-West. I thought I knew, Bill, about systems and processes. You build, you sell a phone system, you order it, you package it, you receive it, you inventory it, you got to go out and install it. All the things that go along with that process. When we had, that was 20 employees, Bill, like at Tel-West, we had like 1,000 in 5 years at Nextlink, So it was a good run.
So
yeah, bud.
when you before you got acquired by Craig McCaw's company, and you were running Tel-West, was that considered a CLEC at that time?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
We were the first CLEC, like in the state of Washington, was electric light wave. So I had an attorney friend say, Greg, would you rather be the first one to be the first CLEC, which no one's going to remember, or would you rather let them pave the way and spend the $2 million to be the first and you be the second? Is that really that big a deal? Like now you can put that money into your network. I'm like,
right.
No one's going to care who the first CLEC was. And so that's some of the best advice ever, man.
So for people that don't know, I know local exchange carrier, what's the C stand for?
Competitive. So much like politics, and there's an incumbent and then there's a competitive. So the ILEC is basically Lumen today. In some places, the United States is AT&T. They're the, Frontier could be another one. There's multiple. And the ILEC is the original phone company in the United States. Yeah.
So back in those days, you kind of fall into this industry because you're playing football at the Fury. The owner is getting involved in some kind of low-level telco stuff, right?
Yep.
Phone systems, all that stuff.
Right on.
And you start to realize, hey, I have a knack for this. Like, I'm
I
good at
love
this.
it. Yeah.
Like, you found something that you're good at. And you started to put that passion to work, right? Because you had that entrepreneurial bug, didn't you?
I did. I loved it.
You loved it. Yeah. And that's something we talk to young and any age entrepreneurs and founders is like, it's got to be something you love, but there also has to be a demand for it. It's one thing to fall in love with something, but if there's no demand, and you immediately saw there was a demand. Especially in that industry, obviously, right?
So because it was a monopoly. Because it was a monopoly. Like I'm like, Sorry. No,
there's a built-in demand for that, which is that's tough to find.
You got to have phone. You got to have phone for business or anyone. So it's a big deal. And this is before the internet, by the way, Bill. Internet started to come out like a few years later. Yeah.
We're going to talk about that. So this is good. This is really good, by the way, because I think a lot of people, it's good to hear the originating story, or the genesis of how you got that entrepreneurial bug and passion. And so So you meet Craig McCaw, he acquires your company, and then
Yeah,
you're at Nextlink, right? Talk about
correct.
Nextlink because you underwent something that's pretty profound that we're kind of not seeing as much anymore, right? At Nextlink with IPO, the
Yeah,
IPO fundraise.
yeah, that was pretty
Can you talk
cool.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So people ask me what's the most interesting part about the IPO and the raise,
Hmm.
and so we were raising, I think it was, uh, I want to say it's either $400 or $600 million, which by the way, that was a big deal. Like
That's
that's a half a
huge.
billion dollars, but today that's nothing. Like billions are thrown out
Hmm.
like around all the time. But one of the most interesting parts to me, of the raise, like, so I'm on the IPO, like there's Craig McCaw listed on the IPO, there's some high level guys, and Greg Green's in there, and I'm the president of a region, and this will crack you up. But when I was running Tel-West and I had my little business with 20 employees, and there'd be months that, like, oh my God, payroll's going to be tight. Like you got to learn to live with the stress when you're an entrepreneur. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
And oh my gosh, we've sold so much, we maybe need a line of credit because we need to order more equipment.
Hmm.
There's good and bad reasons to borrow money. I remember just what the local banks put me through just to, like, oh, I don't know, like maybe a $2,000 line of credit, like 30, 40 years ago. And this is what happened. I swear to God. So we're raising a $500 million. And, I've had a lot of calls, but I have one more. I don't know if it's Morgan Stanley. I don't know who it is. I forget. But there's one more call, Greg. We need you to be on it. And they just pick certain regional presidents to check in on and tell them about the business, just confirm what you're going to do with this $500 million. And they know I'm in Mexico because I have plans to be with my kids in Mexico. We had a house down there at the time, and they were more intrigued with what kind of a drink and if I was going to have an umbrella in my drink than
Wow.
any, like, the, they didn't even ask me any meaningful questions at that level. I
No,
just,
no
I,
financial
no,
fundamentals,
no,
just what
no,
about your drink?
no, no, no. I mean,
Oh my
did we
God.
go through a couple of things? Yeah, but like,
Hmm.
it was shocking to me to
Hmm.
think about how I was grinded by a small bank for a $2,500 line of credit. And now we're
Hmm.
borrowing $500 million. And they're like, so what kind of drink you gonna have on the beach today? Like, I,
Oh
I
my
was just
God.
like, and of course, it overfunded, and we did well and
Hmm.
everything. But um, it's just kind of funny at different levels. Things don't sometimes add up, and
The
it's
most
funny
im-
because after this, when you've seen some bankruptcies down the road, now you kind of wonder about WorldCom and the rest of the stories, right? Like,
right, right, WorldCom. Yeah, oh
whatever.
boy. Yeah,
Oh
you've
boy.
seen some stuff, man. What do you remember what drink it was?
Uh, I think it was actually just like a mojito or something like that. Yeah, I don't.
That's an
As a
important
beer or
thing.
something. I don't know. Pacifico was my thing at the time with
Did
a
you really
lime,
have
I
an
think.
umbrella though? I don't see you
No,
as an
I
umbrella
I
guy.
didn't do an umbrella. No,
All
no.
right. All right. So anyway, so you go through, you raise the money, IPO. How long were you at Nextlink after that?
I was at Nextlink probably another 2 years after that, and I was traveling. Bill, you know what it's like. I had young kids, and I was traveling. I had Margot, amazing secretary, but I was
Yeah.
traveling like 200,000 miles a year on an
Oh
airplane.
boy.
And he became my best friend after this. I was a president of a region. Jim Volker was the CEO who reported directly to Craig. We had access to Craig, and we talked to him once in a while, but we just sort of avoid.
Hmm.
We wanted to let Jim do all that heavy lifting. So, um,
Hmm.
but anyway, just like I was kind of burnt out. And remember, I was the youngest guy on the IPO. I was 36 years old.
Yeah.
Like, there was another guy 40, I think, Scott Bond, he was 40. Anyway,
And this is
um,
like late 90s, right?
yeah, we're
Yeah.
now we're like a 96, yeah,
Yeah.
96, 97.
Yeah.
So I worked a couple more years, and then ultimately it worked out really well because they rolled my region, Spokane, into the Salt Lake region to get better scale, which I would have done too. I totally agreed. And man, I just took some time off, like not a lot, but cashed in some of the IPO money, had my house paid off. And then I realized you can have your house, all of your cars paid off. It doesn't really mean much. Like,
Yeah.
you still got to pay the taxes, like,
Mhm.
man, I got to go back to work at some point now.
Well, and you want to be part of the game. You want to be active and
You're not ready to
involved.
check out at 37 years
No,
old. No,
no,
right.
you get up. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool. So
That was a good time. Good run.
so what year did you exit Nextlink?
I
You
guess that'd
exit
be,
Nextlink, and then when did you start the next thing?
I think so. I exited Nextlink in 97, and I want to say about 98, I started what was called 180 Communications.
Right.
And it was just to be different. Rather than going in a circle, it was to be,
Hmm.
different. And so now we were taking the Nextlink model, which again was delivering internet because we had internet. Internet was out. So we were delivering
Hmm.
internet, and like T1 was a big deal. We're delivering dial tone. And if you remember, long distance was a deal. Like that was
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
So those three products, dial tone, long distance, and internet. But this time we decided that rather going after the Nextlink markets, which I was precluded from anyway because I had a non-compete, we went after Yakima. We went after Bellingham, north of Seattle. We were in
Hmm.
Billings, Montana, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho,
Hmm.
and that's a nice little niche. We
Yeah.
did really, really well there. Yeah, yeah.
And so what was it like back in those days? Because I remember I was in the Bay Area from 94 to 99. I came back to
Ah, that's
Spokane in
right. Yeah, I
99.
forgot about that.
And
99.
you were running 180, but I think it was a Vista Communications at that
Yeah,
at that point,
correct. So
if I'm not
Avista,
mistaken.
you're right. So I put $2 million of my money into 180 Communications, and a very brash Texan from Texas, he became the CEO of Avista, and he wanted to take Avista into lots of different places.
Was that
And
Matthews?
yeah, that was Tom Matthews. And
Yeah.
so what was going on is the utility was building fiber for
Hmm.
themselves, and then they were starting to lease some fiber, like just dark fiber, to the big companies in town. And Tom's like, I don't, like, these guys are kind of running wild. I don't know what they're doing. And I go, well, you know, he goes, how about if we just buy you? And I go, well, I don't want to sell all of it. He goes, how about if we buy 51%? So
Hmm.
we agreed on that, and then we'll fund it from here out on out, and we'll invest an amount of capital. We'll rebrand it from 180 Communications to Vista Communications. Well, we rebrand it, and a lot of the markets that we were in, Vista was in. So like
Yeah.
Lewiston, Idaho,
Hmm.
Coeur d'Alene, all that kind of stuff. So we did really, really well there for a long time. And then 2000 came along,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
2008 was bad, but there was some
Hmm.
people forget about 2000 because they were so focused on 2008.
I got to tell a quick story. We got to take
Yeah.
a little detour here.
Yes, sir.
It's always dangerous with two guys with
Oh
ADHD,
my
right?
God, no, this
Um,
could take
so
forever.
I think I moved back here in '99. I was
Okay.
with Cabletron Systems down the bay,
Yeah.
and then Williams Communications,
Yep.
and my kids had moved to the Silicon Valley with me from Florida, wanted to be part of, more involved,
Sure.
every part of their lives. So we moved as a unit, my ex, my two kids, to Spokane just to be around family. Williams moved me up here to be the regional director for
Oh,
all of
very
Williams
cool.
data. And we
Damn.
were
Yep.
still battling with the phone people, the phone jockeys that were like, you know, uh, you'll never be able to do voice over internet. It'll never work. You'll never get the
That's
reliability.
right.
That was
Yes.
like '99 I remember when Cisco bought Celsius. I was in the Bay Area, and that became the phone man, call manager and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I came up to Spokane. I'm wearing my Williams polo shirt. My nephew's playing football at U High. So I'm at a football game and it's crowded. And all of a sudden I hear this guy yelling, "Hey, Williams, come here. And it was you. And you and I had never met. And you're screaming at me. I don't know who you are. And
Yeah,
I heard
probably.
of this guy named Greg Green that everybody was
Oh
like,
my
you got to meet
God.
this
Oh
guy.
my God.
And
Yeah,
I was
that's probably
starting to get
me.
involved,
I
a
could be
little bit in the
obnoxious.
local area. And I come over and you go, hey, do you work for Williams? I'm like, yeah. He goes, hey, we work with you guys. What are you doing? And
Yeah.
I told you I just moved here. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, give me a call. I want to meet with you. Maybe we got something for you. And I was like, let me check it out. So I go to your office at the next to 1889 building.
Yep.
And I get in there and I'm in your office and you got a million things going on. And you have Annette come in, who's your VP of sales.
Oh, good
She's
on
like,
it.
hey, this is Bill. He just moved here. He works for Williams. Let's see if we can find a job for him. Let's
Yeah.
let's see what we got. And
I was already trying to poach you, huh?
you were
Yeah.
trying to hire me,
I
which
know.
was great. I appreciated it. And they got me into a job interview with about, I don't know, 6, 7 people. Chad Skidmore was there and Tammy.
Judd, Tammy,
Lang,
yep. Yep.
and Annette and everybody. And they were all kind of done talking to me. And they're like, we don't even have a job, dude. So we're just meeting with you because Greg asked us to. But it ended up
That makes
being the
sense.
start of some
Makes
wonderful
That
relationships
makes
and
sense, yeah.
friendships. And I had known Chad because I
Yeah,
used to
Chad's a
sell
smart
against
guy.
him
Oh yeah,
back
Chad's a
in
really
the day
tough.
when I sold Novell Netwear.
Oh, that's
back
right,
in the
Novell.
end.
Yeah.
And he was a
Oh my
big Novell
gosh,
guy.
Novell.
Anyway, I just love that you were like, hey, come here. I want to meet
I
you.
talk to you.
Yeah. It was
You
great.
guys Williams had a lot of people, I think of Williams in telecom, but really they were a gas pipeline company, weren't they? Isn't that
Williams
right?
companies,
Yeah.
I went down to Houston quite a bit, and
Yeah.
they got into data, and they became a huge Cisco partner, and then they acquired Nortel Voice, and they were
Oh.
combining Cisco data with
Okay.
Nortel Voice. So all the Nortel phone jockeys they installed Nortel, they were the ones saying, this will never work. You can never put data over a phone system. Or excuse me, you can
Yeah.
never put any of this over IP, over a data
It's not gonna
network.
work. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will never translate into the reliability of 5 nines going
Yep.
over an IP
Yep.
network. And they were
I
just dead
remember.
against it. So after a while, they got the message of you either learn this or you're gonna have to go find another job.
Right.
VoIP just took over, obviously, but. So
Yeah.
I remember, so I ended up going to work
That's
for Cisco with Mike
Yep.
Peterson in
Good old
2000.
Mike. Oh
And
yeah. Great group of
then
guys.
we ran into each other all the time.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so you're at Avista Communications. You guys are, I don't remember exactly what the relationship was, but how long did you stay as Avista Communications before you moved on?
So this is a really interesting story. So in 2000, I was just kind of sharing about how bad, the economy was, because everybody remembers 2008, the housing and everything.
Right.
But in 2000, there was, I don't know if people remember, but there was kind of a downshift. Like the winds for energy business were not good. The tailwinds, they were not good. There was no tailwind. There was a couple of utilities that went bankrupt, and in 2000, and remember, what's happening now is Avista is now funding Avista Communications, right?
Right.
So while we're growing as planned, Avista, they have this big changeover. The economy's not good for power companies, power generation companies anyway. There's a big falling out with Tom Matthews. They send him back to Texas. And then Gary Ely, who is a really good guy. I couldn't be far different than Gary. And Gary and I are completely different people. But as the CEO of Avista Communications, and he was the CEO of Avista Utilities, he calls me into his office, the big corner office. And there's a very conservative Mormon guy. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Greg, you've been a CEO longer than I have. But I need you to sell Avista Communications. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, Greg, and this is now public
Sure.
Information. He goes, Greg, I can't make the payroll this week. I have our CFO flying to New York right now. This is like on a Friday night. Our CFO flying to New York to raise enough money. He wasn't talking about Avista Communications payroll. He was talking about Avista, the utilities payroll.
Hmm.
When would you ever think you couldn't make the
And that
payroll for a
that's
utility?
public. That's
Yeah, that's
public.
public information. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's all public
Um,
information. Um,
wow.
yeah, and of
That's
course, I'm
interesting.
like, okay, that's how serious. I mean, he just wanted me to know the seriousness of it, and I couldn't say anything at the time, nor did I.
Hmm.
But that's why I always promote Avista. Like, you don't realize how lucky you are to have a utility in your
No.
backyard. Like, some people have a regeneration station, and
Hmm.
one of Kellogg or whatever.
Hmm.
Spokane, Washington actually has the corporate offices of hundreds of people that get
Hmm.
paid 100 to a $500,000 a year or more in the
Yeah.
backyard. That's so great for our community. So
Yeah.
I'm just a big proponent of them, and I really have a lot of respect for what they do, Bill. And I think they do some stuff with you guys. They're always helping
Yeah.
you out. Yeah, they're a big proponent.
Yeah. Full disclosure,
Yeah,
Vista's been a sponsor for several things I've done, including this,
I remember.
bringing
Yeah,
Launchpad back.
yes,
And if people don't realize, I mean, sure, we all, it's the power company, we got to pay our bill, all that,
yeah, yeah.
that's what
Right,
it is.
right.
But they have been a catalyst for innovation in this
Hmm.
region for as
Yeah.
long as I can remember, having helped to start Itron,
Oh God, yeah.
Vista Labs, Rely on,
Rely on.
EG, Itronics, so many companies that have spun out
Totally.
of just this innovation engine
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
the interest in the local economy and stuff like that. And I would say that whether they were a sponsor or not, and some of the
Agreed. Agreed.
leaders
Yeah.
that have been on some of the boards I've been on and just personal
Yep.
friends and mentors,
Yeah.
it's kind of incredible.
It,
And
it,
if you
it
think
really
of
is.
Seattle, Microsoft was
Yeah.
the Bills, right? Bill Boeing, Microsoft, and then all the spin-offs
Hmm.
of that at a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
But we've really had some
Yeah.
some
We really
really unique spin-outs from Avista.
agreed. Actually, Bill Gates' sister sat on the board of Avista for
Right.
years. So
Right.
yeah, really really great connections. You know, I thought they were great partners. I have the highest respect for how they handled it, and
Yeah.
yeah, really really like them. So then after that we end up selling. Basically, the economy was bad. It wasn't just that they wanted me to sell it because they couldn't fund it anymore. It was that we also had a bad economy. So
Yeah.
I end up saying, look, I put $2 million into the company, Gary. This was that meeting, but how about I take and I buy some of the assets back
Hmm.
with my money, and then if you decide you want to divest completely of telecom, maybe keep some fiber networks for your substations, things like that, you can do that, and then you can write everything off if you want.
Hmm.
So they were very gracious. They could have done, they could have done whatever they want, and they're just like, no, Greg, we want to make sure that you're whole, and anybody that invested alongside you's whole. So then I got to go and handpick Billings, Montana, and some other fiber assets, and then we rolled them back to 180 networks, which was kind of how
Gotcha.
networks came along. Yeah, yeah,
And back then,
yes, sir.
that was the whole .com era, the
Yeah,
2001. I mean, it was
correct.
brutal. I remember I was at Cisco
Oh
and ended up
yeah.
leaving, going into the whole public sector for a
Oh
while in Spokane from like 2001 to 2006. But I remember when because 180, you became a sponsor of Launchpad a few times. Some of our
absolutely. I
we
loved
started
what you
doing,
were doing. I was all
yeah,
about.
the big
Yeah.
events.
Oh
Um, and that's kind of when I got to know you a little bit better,
yeah.
and it was a wild. But then the internet really started to take hold. Were you starting? Is that really what you started to build 180? That in the 2000s was
Mm.
just the rise of the internet and the need for bandwidth at all these companies?
Yeah, there was just a massive need. There was. I mean, the need for broadband was just exploding. There wasn't, copper wasn't going to get it done.
Hmm.
And so like when you look at, between those times, you were wireless was even a really great option. There's a lot
Hmm.
of wireless. They call them WISPs now. Excuse me
Yeah.
with that. But there's a lot of wireless ISPs that have done really, really well.
Hmm.
So, down the road in my career, we end up with Fatbeam, but we won't go there just yet. But or whenever you're ready to. But
Sure.
But that was all about broadband. That's how can we get fiber optics and broadband, to
Now,
education
there's a
hospitals.
there's a term I hear about certain entrepreneurs that are very successful and that
Okay.
have multiple exits, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They're just people that can see around corners when
Sure.
it comes to technology and use cases and demand, right? And that we help entrepreneurs with their business ideas early on. And a lot of times we can tell they don't know who their customer is. They don't even know if there's a demand for these products. They just know they want to create something that they think will solve a problem. And the problem ends up being there's no demand for no real demand.
Right. That's a good
You
point.
seem to be one of those people that understood telecom. Like you started, I think it feels to me, and I remember back then and now,
Uh-huh.
you were one of those people that could kind of see around corners a little bit. Like you could see the need for broadband, you could see the markets that would be best to go into. Is that a true statement, or
Um,
am I kind
n-
of giving you
well,
too much credit?
no, you're giving, well, I appreciate the credit, but I will tell you one thing. I'll start out by telling you one thing that I was wrong about.
Hmm.
Help me out. Help me remember the gentleman that created, was it F5? Not F5. Bernard Danes. Bernard Danes. Sorry, I
Bernard,
answered my own
yeah.
question. My apology.
He started with Grand Junction,
Grand
and
Junction,
then they got acquired by Cisco.
and then he started another one. What company was that? Switch
Yeah, he had packet engines
Packet Engines. That's
and
it.
then
Yeah, yeah.
worldwide packets.
Worldwide Packets is what I'm thinking of.
Yep, yep.
So this is the one thing I was absolutely wrong. Now I do know a little. Yeah, you kind of get a sense of looking around the corner and sort of, you have to. If you're not doing that, then you're doing something wrong, because you have to run your business and you have to know where you're going tomorrow.
Right.
So, but I remember Bernard, and I went to go see him, and this is kind of at the end of his career lifespan. He's got a TV type screen in front of him. I don't know if you ever saw him. He has a TV in front of him, and his font of his letters were like this big. The
Yeah.
guy was legally blind, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You talk about a visionary, though. This is a visionary. I would be probably, I think maybe someone classed me the other day, one of my CFOs is, Greg's an innovator. I'm not really a visionary, I'm an innovator, but I'll tell you what, Bernard said, and I disagreed. He said, Greg, we need to have fiber to every home in the United States. And I thought he was nuts.
Hmm.
He was absolutely spot on right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, why do you need more than a T1 or a couple of meg? Who'd have thunk, right? Our appliances are telling us that we're out of ketchup, right?
Look,
The kids.
all the devices, all the data, all the streaming. You've got all these
Exactly.
mobile devices. You've got all these
Exactly.
streaming devices. You're collecting all this data. Yeah, it's unbelievable. You're right.
It's
I mean,
spot on, man.
yeah.
That to me is a visionary. I'm just an innovator. He was the real visionary. But
He
yeah,
could see
he was
around
a-
multiple corners.
He could. He could. He was
Yeah,
really, really good
I
at it
agree
too.
with you. There are some really good innovators that have built
Yeah.
companies here. So let's talk about after 180,
Yeah.
the second iteration.
Yeah.
Did you sell that or
Yeah.
did you exit?
Yeah, we sold that. So we after we bought it back from Avista, rebranded it 188 Networks, we ended up selling, there were kind of two components to it. There was one in Spokane, which we sold, and then to a company in the Dakotas. That was around 2008. That was a tough time to sell too. It was a
2008.
2008 was really tough. And then around 2007, just before that, we sold the Billings, Montana asset to basically Zayo. People know who Zayo is.
Mhm.
There was a company that bought it before Zayo, but they bought all the fiber assets and the Billings network that we had built. Billings, Montana reminds me a lot of Coeur d'Alene. It's a railroad town, man. Like you got a bunch of downtown buildings. Some of them are half empty, some aren't.
I used to take my stepfather to the Coeur d'Alene. They called it the Coeur d'Alene Local when I was in grade school.
Really?
He worked out. We took him out to work out there and dropped him off. We used to drop him off two places. It used to be where Riverfront Park is now.
Yeah.
The downtown the downtown train depot. He worked for
Oh yeah,
Burlington Northern Railroad. I think it was
really?
before that. Yeah, my
Before
grandfather worked at
yeah.
Hilliard in the railroad. But I remember going to Coeur d'Alene,
Huh?
and a lot of people don't know like where that park is. That was where we
Railroad.
used to drop him off. It was a railroad station,
Yep.
and there was
Yeah.
no resort. There was none of that.
No.
And
No.
yeah, I remember being a kid just going out there and seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah. What a beautiful
Incredible.
place it is now.
Um,
Yep.
okay, so what year did you sell 180?
So 2008, 2008, 7, 8 is when we sold the assets that we had of Billings and Spokane. We sold those assets. Yeah.
So when did you get the idea for Fatbeam? Talk
So
to us about Fatbeam.
sure. So that was around 2009. So from 2008 to 2009, it probably was a good, well, obviously that's a 12-month stretch, but it was about a 14-month stretch where I was kind of figuring out what I was going to do next. I was doing some interviews. I even took a contract work for Zayo. I really disliked working for someone. I really
Yeah,
just didn't like
yeah,
that. I um I don't know, when you're passionate about being an entrepreneur and you
yeah,
realize what you're giving up, I don't know. It's probably another subject. So anyway, of all people, you mentioned the guy earlier, Mike Peterson, who
yeah,
was with Cisco. You and him worked together for years.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, in 2009, he's like, Greg, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Sean Swampy. He goes,
Mm,
Sean is talking about building some fiber optic networks. He knows nothing about it, but he has demand for it. And you
mm-hmm.
mentioned it earlier in our conversation. You have to have demand. So
Yep.
he's like, I go, well, tell me the concept. And he says, well, Sean has all these applications for his schools,
Mm-hmm.
for distance learning and
Yep.
alarms and sonitor, all of these things, but he needs a large amount of capacity. And so hypothetically, let's use the example of Yakima, Washington. That's
Mm-hmm.
the school that they deliver product switches and routers, Wi-Fi, they deliver all those services. He goes, Greg, imagine if he could build fiber to all 27 or 28 schools in Yakima. Um,
Right.
and I go, well, why isn't the cable company doing it? He goes, well, they are. He goes, but they're giving them like half a gig for 28
Right.
schools.
Right.
So it didn't take very long for Sean and I to get together and say, like, we can build this for $2 million to connect these schools, and we're only going to use 3% of the fiber optic network for the school. The government, essentially through what's called an E-rate program,
Mm-hmm.
will lease the fiber network from us, and we'll have 98% of the capacity left over to lease for businesses to deliver high broadband internet.
Mm-hmm.
So Fatbeam was a mega win for us.
Yeah.
We put our toe in the water, just like you said. Was there a demand? Man, we were signing school districts right and left. Build a fiber. And here's the thing about Fatbeam: when we went and we built these fiber networks for schools, they were private. It's not like the cable company's network where like you're getting internet access, but you're also sharing it with everyone in town.
Right.
From a public safety standpoint, you really want the children in the community that are going to school to be safe. So we promised them that we would build fibers only for their use. And then their eyes just lit up like, you mean no one else will be on these? No, no one will be on these fiber networks. So we had a 10-year run, and probably, we each put a couple $1 million into the deal. We did mezz financing and borrowed about 12 million from a bank back east, and then a little later down the road, we sold 51%. I think that we were probably in year 10 then. We sold 51% of the company to SDC Capital, and they put $36 million in. It's an extremely capital intensive business.
Hmm. Yeah.
For every mile of fiber, it's $50,000 if it's on the poles. No one likes to see fiber on the poles, but
Right.
it's on the poles because it's cheap. If it's
Mhm.
underground, it's around $100,000 of fiber. A
Wow.
mile, excuse me, a mile.
Wow. A mile. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a big
So
deal.
you're connecting schools,
Yeah, we're
basically,
connecting
with the
schools
fiber,
together.
like Bernard was saying, instead of the homes, you were doing the schools,
Yeah.
which is critical with all
hmm
the the learning apps, the connectivity required to run some of these schools with tons and tons of data, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Distance learning. You might have a principal in one school talking about, public safety and he's communicating that to every classroom directly. Like that could not be done without those. So let's put it this way, Bill, we had what we call an anchor tenant. We had one tenant that would fund basically 100% of the fiber build. And then anything and they only used 2% of the capacity. Yeah. And then we layered on the rest, we layered on internet and we delivered 1 gigabit to businesses and they loved it. Because who are we competing with? Yeah.
You combined because I worked with EdNetics, full disclosure.
Yes, that's right.
Love their model. Hated competing against Cisco, loved selling.
Oh, yeah, he's good. They're good. No, they are very good. Really good. Yes, they are.
They knew the E-rate market better than anybody. I mean, Sean was a student. For all of you entrepreneurs out there, and
yes,
all you
amen.
People, become a student of your industry.
Yep.
And become a student of your environment and your competitors. But he knew that game really well. I remember meeting him early on when I was working with Mike at Cisco. But so you have this partner that has the E-rate, understands the E-rate program.
Correct.
Had the relationships with a lot of these schools and was selling the components.
Yeah, switches, routers, things like that.
Fiber knowledge.
Then we bring the fiber, yeah.
What a beautiful strategic relationship.
It was amazing.
Kind of entrepreneur endeavor, right?
Truly 1 + 1 = 3. Yeah. I mean, I can never think of an example where 1 + 1 = 3. That was a company that he and I together, and we were completely different people. He's an engineer. I mean, and this is the beauty of Sean. Sean is, I've never seen a person that has a passion for marketing, branding. Like some people, I'll give you an example. Marty Dickinson. We all know Marty. Marty understands marketing so well.
Right.
Sean is a marketing person, not to the level that Marty is. I don't want to take that away from Marty because Marty is very, very in depth about it. But Sean understands the brand, the marketing, but he's also an engineer. And it's very, very unique that you can put an engineer head together with marketing and have that in one mind. And that was Sean. And you're right. You tried to sell against them. Good luck because they had it together.
Oh, man. Yeah, they were on their game. So you guys, this great partnership. And the thing that I want to point out to people is you were willing to listen. You didn't go so many meetings you go into and people are like, well, no. This is who we sell. We're not interested. We don't have time because we're so busy and so focused going down this direction. And a lot of times you have to say that. You can't get pulled off.
You can't. Right.
That, will get you off your game. However, you were willing to listen and look at the fact that there was actual customers willing to fund a lot of this entrepreneur idea rather than it was capital intensive, obviously. But you could see the need for it, right? You could see the demand for it. That's what was so critical. And that's what I encourage people to do is look at the demand from your customers. That part's critical.
Yeah, you've got to listen. You got to listen to them. You can't you can't be all things to all people. You try to do that, you get yourself in trouble. But one of the things that you can do, and this would be the little Gensu knives, you get as a Boy Scout. One's a fork, one's a spoon, one's a knife, whatever.
The Swiss Army knife.
There you go, Swiss Army knife. I think about Sean's company that way. Sean has taken products that you can buy these products from, and they're all integrated together. So oh, by the way, down the road, if you elect to take one of those products away, it might not just work. There's a few features you're going to lose. I mean, that's how tightly integrated he was. And I find that fascinating that, it's very clever.
What's interesting is, I think, and they just sold EdNetics, right?
They did. Yeah. He called me. He was pretty excited. Yeah. I was down in Vegas and he's like, I'm selling. You can't tell anyone. And I'm like, I won't know. But he called me a couple of times and I knew about 3 months before it was going to go down. And I was really happy for him.
He got back to me, by the way. If you said something
Cool.
to him, thanks. I ran into him at
Oh,
one of our events, and he pulled me aside. He's like, "Hey, man, I really love what you're doing. I want to give back. I want to help
yeah, he's at that
mentor
point.
and
Yeah.
maybe invest and all that kind of stuff." I'm like, sure. And I emailed him a few times, and he kind of
Yeah.
didn't respond. And I thought, oh, I'm going to leave him alone. And then
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of the blue, I get an email one morning. He goes, "Hey, man," and I had just heard about the acquisition, and I'm like, well, no
Yeah.
doubt, I
Yeah.
totally get it. So,
Yeah.
so
I'm so
that's
happy
cool,
for
man.
him.
I love those stories, and I highly encourage people
Yeah.
to seek out strategic partnerships because, like you said, sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard just trudging along, creating a new sales channel or creating demand for your own product when it's not visible. That's just right
Yeah.
there in front of you.
Yeah.
So seek out some of these strategic partnerships is a good lesson, I think, is
That's
what
a
you're.
that's a really good idea, Bill. Like, and sometimes you'll figure out pretty quickly, like, man, I'm glad we met. It's nice to meet you, but I just don't see how we're gonna do anything. My product, we probably don't have any synergies. But at least you met them, and if they're
Yeah,
respectful people, they'll point when someone needs your product, they'll direct them your way or something like that.
that's
But
right.
it's critical that you always are looking and just don't be the smartest guy in the room. Like when we sold 51% equity to a private equity group, PE.
Hmm.
I'll be honest with you, something happened recently where they messed something up, but another story. But these guys were the smartest guys in the room.
Hmm.
And I'll say this now. I'm not going to say who. We may or may not have talked about the person. But I did say to my one of my partners in one of my companies one time, because I've been in PE. I've been on both sides of PE. Like
Hmm.
Shark Tank, it kind of bothers me a little bit. Like
Yeah.
they're kind of just mean to some of the people. Like, and maybe that's TV. And by the way, you're right. There are some products that just aren't products because there's not a demand. But I
Hmm.
don't. I think you can treat people with respect. Um,
Right.
but if you're going to spend $36 million to invest, 51% of my company,
Hmm.
why wouldn't you want to listen to a little bit about what we had to say? Like
Yeah.
there must be some reason you invested that. But some private equity companies, they're the smartest guy in the room.
Hmm.
And I just don't like that. Like I've never, since Tom Simpson is the smartest guy in the room, he will be very clear how to direct you into a way. But
Hmm.
but you don't have to be or even pretend you're the smartest guy in the room. In fact, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble if that's what you think.
Right.
But we later
Right.
sold that company for 235 million
Wow.
a couple of years ago. And we all did
Yeah.
really, really well. And then we sold that. And then later Sean sold his company, like you just mentioned, at Netix.
Yeah.
It was a good run. It was a good run.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, maybe their motivation is the money, maybe it's not, it's a nice benefit, but
Should never
hey,
be.
it's a lot of hard work. It's a grind. It's a grind.
It
To
is.
put
It
up the
should.
risk
Yeah.
capital.
And by the
Um,
way, if you're an entrepreneur, I'm sorry, Bill, but like if you're an entrepreneur, people like they can see if money's important to you as an entrepreneur, and it's important to everyone. Everyone would like to have it.
mhm.
I get it. But let me tell you something right now that they can tell a customer can tell the difference.
Mhm.
And if a customer feels like you're out for the money grab, that's it's a bad sign.
Yeah,
So
it becomes
so be
kind of
authentic, be
obvious.
authentic. Yeah, be
Yeah.
authentic. Be
Yeah.
passionate. Like, yeah, we need you as a customer. We'd love to have more revenue.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, we're just so excited to have you as a customer.
Yeah,
That's the best selling you can deliver.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're almost at time. I've got
Okay.
just a few kind of
Yeah, give it to me, bud. Let's
rapid
do
fire
it.
questions for you.
Cool. What
Just
you got?
top of your mind, whatever comes to your head, just give me an answer
Okay.
real quick. What's one technology you think is underrated right now?
Okay. You will be surprised that I picked this because it's talked about every day, 100,000 times a day. AI.
You
And
think it's
you're like,
underrated?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think it's underrated. I mean, people are like, we talk about it every day. And so you think, why could that be underrated?
Yeah.
But there are more things that AI is going to do than we're not even on the tip of the iceberg. Why can't AI make your hamburger?
So
Well,
early, right?
right, but like, why is a robot
Hey,
not? They're making
now
a car.
now people at Hudson's are going to get all freaked out. We don't want to get them worried. All
No,
good.
but
All right.
That would be one. And then the other part is just on the AI, just real quickly, is the fact that if we don't have AI training the right way, there could be a serious impact to society and mankind. Yeah. AI could do some very harmful things. So we got to be really thoughtful about how we do it.
Don't ignore it and pretend it's going to go away, because that's the problem. I agree with you. So who's one entrepreneur, past or present, you really admire?
I picked this person because, to say that, I did think of Mark Cuban. I don't know Mark very well. I mean, I've met him, but I don't know him very well. I've met Bill Gates, and Bill Gates is the one I'm picking. Not everyone agrees with Bill Gates, and he's a tough little, you know what, he's kind of early stages. He was a little kind of smart alecky, if you will, type of person. But here's what I like about him. He's given more to mankind than anyone I know. Like, they have solved viruses. They have solved issues in the world. They have a foundation that has billions of dollars, and they keep investing in it, and it keeps making money for them. You know, they have solved water issues in areas of the population and hunger, and there's so many things that he's done for the world. And to me, if you're a billionaire, you maybe ought to think about not building that next mega yacht and giving back to those with less.
Right.
Just that's why he touches me a bit.
Yeah,
there.
There's a lot. You're not wrong. Let me cut through a couple of these. So, what kind of advice would you give a 30-year-old Greg Green?
Stop trying to please everyone. You know, when you're the child of an alcoholic, you just want your dad to love you. Like, you just want your dad to love you. And it's not going to happen. Like, you know, so later in life, what do you want? You want to be liked. You want, like, even if you don't do business with me, I want him to like me. It's not always going to happen, you know? And so growing up with a father now, that's the reason I'm as driven as I am. I spent my first 35 years being driven, trying to prove to my father that I would be somebody, because he never told me that he was really proud of me or anything. So that's who I did it for. And then the last 35 years or less, I've done it for me. That's probably it.
I hear you, man. I think that's a great piece of advice, regardless if you're 30, if you're 40, if you're 50.
Yeah.
You just can't please everyone. Just stop trying.
Yeah.
It's just so hard.
Be a good person. Be respectful. Doesn't mean you can be an asshole. And I've done that too.
Yeah.
Do be a good person, and just, it's too much weight to carry on your shoulders that you're going to please everyone, man. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Are you, the last question I have for you is, tell me about the whole neutrality thing, kind of where that's at. Has there been any more conversations in Congress about that?
You know, I read recently that they were going to go back and I think they're going to uphold it, meaning that that there would not be an open and an equal internet. I challenge. I mean, this is frustrating to me. So currently today, unless something's changed, open access or free internet is net neutrality is everyone having open access. So like. You know, if you're building a company, you know the terms and conditions on which you can use the internet. But let's just say, as an example, I'm not saying this could happen, but let's say that without net neutrality, a cable company, when you go to search internet providers or voice over IP, you could not come up in the search as a provider. Right. Like, they can block you. And I went to the FCC one time, and I said to the folks at the FCC, I said, I don't really get this. This makes no sense. And they're like, well, the big guys are trying to explain why they want it, because they want to charge more to others. It's all money driven, right? Okay. At the end of the day, I said, we probably have 150,000 subscribers on our Fatbeam internet network, because we lease fiber internet to other ISPs, and we're kind of the wholesale provider. I said, can you imagine for one day, I basically took off access to the FCC website. So you could, no one of the 150,000 people that was on the Fatbeam network would have access to that's the control that you're talking about. And they're like, you can do that? I go, I can call my people in IT right now. And within 2 hours, if you were a subscriber on the West Coast and one of our networks, you would not be able to look up the FCC. It would just draw a blank. It wouldn't go there. I go, now think about that as power. Like that is a lot of power to put in one's hands. So I think an open network needs to be open, needs to be rules that, you could engage in. Shouldn't be like, here's another example, cable company. I'll be really quick here, Bill. Cable companies could not allow you access to Netflix or Hulu. And they're like, hey, I'm at home. I use your cable, Comcast. Sorry, anyone. Comcast Spectrum. I lose your cable, but I'm having trouble logging into my Netflix account. Well, we have our programming for you. We can sell you this. But if you really want to have access to Hulu and Netflix, we're going to have to charge you a gateway fee. It's $6.95 a month. Right. But they could do that. That just to me is not fair. No.
Well, I know a little bit about it, not enough to be dangerous, but I know that it's a passion for you.
Yeah, it is.
And that it's something you speak out about quite a bit. And obviously you have the background in telecom and all that. But hey, man.
But good.
We gotta wrap it up. It's always good to catch up with you personally, but I really appreciate you doing this. And
appreciate the time.
Again, man, you've had a really interesting life and an interesting journey and an interesting career. And I just really appreciate you as a person and a friend. And
back at you
is just really helpful for people that are going through the grind and just need to understand their market. And because you, my friend, understand your market really, really well.
Well, I want to thank you. And, for those people looking to build a new company, I'm available. That's part of what motivates me is I need to give back to others. So I've got some knowledge. If some of those entrepreneurs want to reach out to you and I, Bill, and, I think we're available for them. We've talked about that.
Yeah, we're going to create a platform so people can connect, and we're going to start doing some
Love it.
lunch and learns and sharing of some wisdom, like, maybe in snippets like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. You and I are talking about doing.
We'll figure it out.
Which I thought the idea was great. We'll share more info later. We'll tease it out like that. For
more to be. Yep.
But, yeah.
Hey, man. Thanks, Bill, for the invite. Really grateful. Love your fan base. Thanks, pal.
Always, man. Take care.